Welcome to the Draft Elk Management Plan. My name is Luke Meduna. I'm the Big Game Program Manager for the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission, and I'm going to give you a summary of our Draft Elk Management Plan that we've just released. We've released that through a press release and our media channels. It's posted on our website there at outdoornebraska.gov /elk plan. It's out for public review. Obviously, this is the summary presentation. I'm going to go over some of the highlights of it. And on this webpage, there's a comment form. Also, I believe listed right above where the video is, there's information for 2 virtual open forums that I will host over the Zoom platform here in the coming weeks. So look them up. I believe the 20th and 22nd of September. The timeline here, it's open for public comment through September. We'll incorporate and address those comments that are submitted. Those will all come to me. We'll then present the final plan to our commission at our October commission meeting for approval. And in the future, following, over this next year, we'll address some of our unit-based goals that I'm going to talk about here in the next little bit. We'll look at those, address those over the coming year. And that'll continue through ongoing public input, both landowner and general public through landowner meetings, our big game meetings that we host annually, and any other input that we get. The best method for providing input on our webpage, there is that comment form. Please take time to read the full plan. There's a lot of information. I'm just going to touch the highlights, just a lot of the overall points of it. I'm not going to get too far into the details, so please read the plan. There's a lot of information in there. Provide your input on that comment form, or you can shoot me an email. My email is on the webpage there as well. So the plan outline, I'm going to go through the background and the purpose of the plan, hit some of the highlights, talk about the informational sections. And then talk about the season setting guidelines that we have outlined, our objectives and strategies, and then, again, how to provide comment. So the background, obviously, a management plan is a document to guide the management of elk in Nebraska now and into the future, and it also incorporates a lot of public engagement. We've actually had several meetings with landowners this past summer to provide some help, some guidance on that side of it. And we've taken input over the years at many of our meetings. We've got a pretty good grasp on what our hunters want and expect in our elk herds, but we're always looking for more. Previous versions of this, we had, our original elk management plan in 1995. We had an elk management policy, which dealt with, there's our elk management plan from 1995. Our policy in 2000, which dealt more with, elk showing up against captive facilities and some depredation issues, just, policy for staff on how to address those. And then we had an approach paper that we put together in 2014 that outlined our season setting guidelines, when to increase permits, had some goals and targets in there. So some of the highlights, first and foremost, it's we got to remember that this is, excuse me, we're documenting the successful natural recolonization of a native ungulate. Elk were here native, they were completely wiped out, and then they've come back on their own. The game parks never released any elk. They've walked in from other states, Colorado, Wyoming, predominantly, some from South Dakota in the northern part of the state. But we also recognize that process has largely happened on private land. Nebraska is 97% private. And so most of this has happened on private land. And so, I hope in this plan, we want to show the commission's commitment to work with landowners by managing elk at levels that they will tolerate and to mitigate the damage that elk cause. We want to help solve those problems. And then we want to implement objectives and strategies to achieve the commission's goal of managing elk at acceptable population levels while providing Nebraskans with quality hunting and viewing opportunities. And so we want to help manage elk for all Nebraskans, while taking into consideration all those issues that elk can potentially cause. So, we've got the history of elk in Nebraska, some of the things that we do address. Lewis and Clark saw elk as soon as they came into Nebraska, or what would become Nebraska, what is currently, Richardson County. They harvested elk all up and down the Missouri River, several in Nebraska, Douglas County, Otoe County, Nemaha, and several others as the farther they went north. We also look at some of the key management issues, that we look at is habitat availability. Nebraska's changed. It's not the wide open prairie that it once was. The other issue that we face is landowner tolerance, because elk are big animals, they can cause damage, and so there's definitely issues there. Like I mentioned, we also discuss elk on private land. We also look at elk hunting with our management units as we currently have them. We also go through some of our surveys. One of those surveys is our harvest survey, our harvest data. We've got all of our annual harvest data listed in a table in there. We also look at the elk research that we've done in the past and that we're going to be launching here shortly in the future. We're also looking at disease, CWD, other things like that, working with captive facilities, and the responsibility that we have in working with the Nebraska Department of Agriculture. And then stakeholder involvement, and we work through how we want to get input from both our landowners and the general public, hunters, everybody. We also then look at our population management and season setting guidelines. We go through our elk management units, and then our elk zones, which are the landowner descriptions that landowners must own land within those zones so that they can qualify for those landowner elk permits. We look at we also discuss some of our elk population, how we're looking at those, how we're doing modeling, those types of things. And then the season setting guidelines based upon some of those criteria, success or success rates for permits, our bull quality criteria goals, percent 6 point, average mean beam length, age, those types of things. And then we also look at the population direction desired. Do we want to go up? Do we want to go down? Stay the same? And again, that a lot comes back to social tolerances of our landowners and general public. And then we work through the objectives and strategies. I'm going to go through and list all the objectives. Each objective has a host of, 3 to 7 probably strategies listed underneath. This first one, to establish population objectives and demographic objectives for each management unit. Those will be addendums. That's what I mentioned at the beginning, that we'll be continually adding to this this management plan as we work forward in the coming year. The second objective is to minimize depredation complaints so that most landowners who have elk on their property consider the damage tolerable. Third is to continue to provide disease surveillance and monitoring, reporting annually on the overall health of elk populations. The fourth is to annually report on the status of elk populations, utilizing harvest data and survey information. Fifth is to continue to work with the Nebraska Department of Agriculture and the captive cervid industry. And sixth is to continue to engage our stakeholders with the management of elk in the state. And again, each one of those has a host of strategies listed underneath that have got some great details. And again, that's the short of it. Please go take a look at the elk plan, download it, read it, provide input on that comment form. Shoot me an email if you've got questions. I'll respond to every comment that we get. If I get an email address back, you'll hear back some email address from me one way or another, or you'll get an email from me, a response. So again, I thank you for listening to this little bit. Thank you for all the input you can provide. Please provide input. We'll definitely be happy to take it. So with that, thank you, and have a great day.